snowy. Another inch or two expected by the time the winter storm warning. Pares down by around 5 this afternoon, 4 to 8 inches storm totals. But watch out for the winds. 10 to 29 miles an hour blowing out of the north-northeast. High of 33 later today and a low of 22 overnight. 30 at O'Hare. Next news at 7. Breaking news as it happens. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. Let freedom ring this afternoon at 2 with Sean Hannity on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, Scott the Cowguy Shalady.
Good morning. Good morning.
And we have spent a good deal of time talking about President Xi and the Chi-Coms this morning. Let us now move over to talk about another one of America's enemies. That would be Vlad Putin and the Russians, particularly as his profile has been re-raised in the last couple of weeks with the arrest of Russian dissident Alexei Navalny. Navalny, by the way, who interestingly had some comments about Twitter banning President Trump, somebody who appreciates the importance of living in a society where people are able to speak their mind. Very interesting to get his commentary on the topic. For more on the state of play with the Putin regime, we're pleased to be joined by Dana Lewis, award-winning international journalist, correspondent, and host of the Backstory podcast. Lewis is one of the longest-serving Western reporters to be based in Russia, 12 years. And he served as the Moscow correspondent for NBC News and later the Moscow bureau chief for Fox News. Dana, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. Excited to be here. Thank you.
So what is the status of Navalny? I know I read that his wife had been released from custody. What is Navalny's status, and how much of a threat to Putin's regime does he present?
Well, I think that's changed in the last couple of days, so it's a good question. His status is essentially he was poisoned in August. He fought for his life in a hospital in Germany. He came home almost 2 weeks ago. He was arrested at the airport. They had threatened to arrest him, so he knew what he was in for, and they were hoping, I think the Kremlin was hoping that he wouldn't come back because he represents a big threat and a growing threat to the Kremlin and to President Putin. So he is in jail on a charge, an old fraud charge, which was a wobbly, bogus charge, which he says was inflated against him just so that he wouldn't run in politics and he wouldn't be able to stand for president. And Russia is facing parliamentary elections this September, and Navalny is organizing against Russia a united party, which is Putin's party. And I think that the Kremlin made a decision to take him out. And they're either, if they couldn't kill him, they're going to put him behind bars for a very long time. He's been remanded in custody, and his trial this new trial will take place next month, but he could be facing years in prison.
What's the basis for the decision that was made, do you think? Because it seems to me that Putin likes to treat a dissident like Navalny as an irrelevancy. He doesn't even want to address his existence, but now, for whatever reason, and I'm looking for some insight from you, he felt compelled to have to address it straight away by taking him into custody.
I think if you kind of roll back to the summer, Navalny was out organizing in Siberia, and his anti-corruption party actually did quite well in some of the mayoral elections. And then he was campaigning online against Putin and exposing a lot of corruption in the Kremlin. I mean, taking people that Putin's inner circle and hanging them out by name. And then now he's come out with this incredible video, which is almost 2 hours long, about Putin's palace. And he prepared that video before he went to jail, before he came back to Germany. And I mean, it's very bold and very courageous. And it calls Putin out in terms of his wallets. They name names, they put pictures up of people, they have the structures of offshore companies, and this incredible chit-chat on the internet. I mean, even though that video had 60 million views. But Navalny's call to the street when he was in his first court appearance, okay, we thought maybe they get a few thousand out in Moscow. You're talking more than 100 cities across Russia in 11 time zones, thousands of people brawling with police. The Kremlin is absolutely rattled by it, right? Because how do you stop it? And now they've called for more demonstrations next weekend.
And normally how you stop it from the perspective of an autocrat like Putin is just to suppress it. You stop it with force. And we've seen this play out in Hong Kong, too, with the Chinese communists and against the democracy.
Not scared to go to the street. And what will Putin do? What they shouldn't have arrested Navalny. Let him come back. No, a lot of people don't even know who he is in Russia. Now they do. And the views on the internet, on social media are huge, right? So now they're making him into a kind of Mandela character in Russia, a cause celeb for everything that's bothering Russians, and that's the pandemic. The referendum that was held this summer where Putin extends his term until 2036 potentially, bad economics, frustration. It's a lot of it. Navalny is going to become a lightning rod for all of that. And I think that Putin has put himself in a box to answer your question because he doesn't know what to do now. If he gets soft, that doesn't play well in Russia. And they promised to arrest Navalny, so now they've done it. And they're saying they're going to lock him up for a long time. These protests won't go away.
And is it your assessment that Navalny is sort of the real deal when it comes to somebody who believes in something approximating a free society?
Real deal. Campaigning against corruption, exposing the charade of democracy in Russia, calling all of Putin's inner circle out. These are guys in, ex-KGB, now FSB, naming names, showing bank accounts. He's very sober and he's very methodical. And he is courageous and relentless, and he is a major problem for Putin.
And with respect to America, what would you suggest, or that? I mean, it's maybe beyond your ken, but what would people in Russia who want to see Putin deposed? What would they like to see America do? Just amplify Navalny's name so that everybody around the world knows who it is, and put more pressure on Putin, or what could be done?
Bill Browder, who's was pushed out of Russia, and he was a big financier there, and he's in the UK. And he sponsors the Magnitsky sanctions because his lawyer was jailed and died in prison, same prison where Navalny is now. Says you got to do sanctions. So the EU is considering them, but getting 27 nations to really agree on it is hard going. And some of them take money from Russia. Some of them have gas and oil deals. Sure. But yeah, the U.S. and I think the Biden administration knows how. Look, Joe Biden knows Putin. He's met with him, and he's very well educated on Russia. And I think they'll keep the pressure on. But here's the other side of the coin. If there is actually a real grassroots movement inside Russia demanding democracy, demanding a change, do you want to push too hard from the outside? Let it happen on its own. That's what's happening in Belarus next door. So, yeah, you have to call Putin out, maybe apply some economic pressure, but at the same time, don't make it look like the Kremlin wants it to play, and that's that it's outside influence.
Right.
It's Americans, stirring the pot in Russia. If this is a real grassroots political movement, support them, but don't be seen to be driving it.
He is Dana Lewis, award-winning international journalist, correspondent and host of the Backstory podcast. And you want to check out that podcast to stay abreast of what's happening on the ground in Russia, as he was describing. Dana Lewis, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Lou Dobbs. AMC Theaters stave off bankruptcy, a $900 million fine.